Hello, Extraordinary Men's Network. We are here with another interview. One of our latest members, Joe Nicassio. Welcome, sir. How are you today?
I'm too blessed to be stressed.
Ooh, I like that. I haven't heard that before. I'm too blessed to be stressed. Yes, indeed. I feel that. I feel that too. And yet somehow I do get stressed, which is, I need to work on that. Whereabouts in the world are we talking to you from today, sir?
I'm in Southern California, Ontario, California, about an hour east of Los Angeles.
There is an Ontario in California.
Yes, there is.
Wow. The more you know. It was only in my much later adult life that I learned there were more Liverpools than the Liverpool that I grew up in England. There's Liverpools in New York, Australia, all over the place. Yeah, there we go. Anyhow, get back on the point. So this is the Extraordinary Men's Network, and I reached out to you because I've seen you posting. I think we have mutual friends, and I thought there's an extraordinary man. I wonder if he wouldn't mind talking to us about life and business and and all that good stuff. So I'm curious if you know why I asked you to be on this interview.
Not a well, I'm an entrepreneur maker, and I do help people start and grow businesses. So I suspect that it had something to do with helping men. A lot of people want to start a business and they're afraid. So, but I've helped over 4,000 people in over 400 industries either grow an existing business or start one. And I think a lot of men struggle with this. So I think that might be a clue, but
Mm.
am I on track?
Yeah, yes. I mean, exactly. I look for things that I know that I would benefit from too, and then if I would, I know that there's going to be a lot more out there. But yes, and it was also your confidence. It was your confidence to say who you are and what you've achieved, and what you've done, because that is transferable into any field, right? Like to say, this is what I've done, this is who I've helped, and this is who I know I can help. That that's an extraordinary ability to, screw arrogance. It's nothing to do with that. It's just these are the facts, and I want to continue to help more people, and I respected that too. So I'm glad you took me up on my offer. Let's start at the beginning, or let's start at the middle. What do you do now? What is your current, day to day like, your business life, family life, that kind of thing?
My life is very simple. I work with two kinds of people. I'm a business coach, business consultant, and I have an expertise in marketing and in sales. And over the years, I was working with people that were making 1 to 3 to 500K a year that want to go that first 1 or 2 million. And I still work with that group of people. But over the years, I kept running into people that said, I don't make that kind of money. In fact, I have a job. It sucks. And I wish I could start my own business, but nobody really teaches me the real stuff. So I'm the founder and creator of the Employee Escape Plan, where I transform employees into entrepreneurs so they never have to go back to the soul sucking job. And a large part of that is just helping people discover their magic and do something with it. I believe I have some weird beliefs. I believe children are born as geniuses, then conditioned into mediocrity. And I believe we're all children of God and we all got some magic and some blessings and some skills, but that doesn't mean that the world has taught us how to make a good living with our magic. And so uh, I don't just teach people to make money, I teach people to have a happiness centered business and how to actually use your gifts in a way that uh, the goal is that you wake up every day saying, I love what I do and I'm good at what I'm doing and I'm using my superpowers and I'm making a big difference. And wow, I even make some pretty decent money doing this. And if I can do that for people, I have done that for, hundreds, thousands of people. I've done it for myself. And if I can help more people do that, then I'm a pretty happy camper. So, I wake up, I do have two parts. I have to serve the clients that I have, and then I do market and network and do a lot of that stuff. Most of it from my laptop. I use Zoom, and I have clients all over the world. And so I wake up, I do my little morning ritual, and then I serve my clients and promote myself, and then I usually cook a nice dinner, and that's kind of my life. It's very simple.
Lovely. Sounds like a yeah, sounds like a place I would like to be one day. Yeah, when my kids are grown up and gone. Um, yeah, I love the idea of kids being born as geniuses. When I look at my 1 year old, I don't see it. But however, in an abstract sense, I see her as being the ideal form of almost like a human, like carefree, trusting of the world. It's like everything she does is around her innate understanding of everything. And it's beautiful to see her navigate around. And sometimes I wish I had more of that as an adult.
If we could only reconnect with our innocence.
Yeah, right. Yeah, once it's gone, it's gone. Um, what about your journey? Have you always were you fortunate enough to never have that innocence taken away from you? Did you not get
Oh no.
conditioned, or did you have to reclaim it? What was it? What was your
No,
story?
I you know what I grew up. I had a very loud, and my mom would throw tantrums and stuff. So I think I became conditioned as an introvert at a young age. But I did very well in school. I did my homework and raised my hand and asked lots of questions. And at a young age, I had this interest in electronics, and I took all kinds of classes to learn, electronics. And my first job, while I was in high school, well, I had all kinds of odd jobs, but somebody came to my electronics teacher and asked, "Who's your best student?" And he recommended me, and I got my first job was doing stereo and TV repair, electronic technician type work. And I took a lot of electrical engineering type classes, and I hustled and I worked hard and all that stuff, and made a lot of money. But I also, you know, I had a pretty big business crash in the late 80s, the 1980s, and it was pretty painful. Um, one of the things about technology is you have a hot technology today is a cold technology tomorrow. And I had to constantly be learning. And um, I would say one of the great skills I developed was I became a very good troubleshooter, problem solver, high tech electronic troubleshooting. Anyway, in the 80s, I made a bunch of money, but then I lost everything, and my net worth was minus 250,000. I did not file bankruptcy. I had deep depression. I had suicidal thoughts. I had to go seek therapy and, say I need help. Went to the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health, and, they put me on antidepressants and gave me counseling and a psychiatrist, and that stuff helped a lot. But the real blessing, and by the way, I didn't file bankruptcy. I paid people back, and it set me back about 17 years. Okay. So it was a pretty painful time, but
Can I
something else
interject there a
happened.
second? Because I don't know if this is
Yeah.
divine timing, but I've heard a lot of people talking about bankruptcy recently, my age, whether it's through student loans from 20 years ago or poor decisions on buying land when they got out of university. Why would somebody not? Because the way they make it sound is just file bankruptcy. Yeah, you can't get a loan for 5 years or so or something like that. But you'd be back on your feet after that. What stopped you filing bankruptcy if you were? Because that sounded like quite heavy debt.
Part of it was I think it costs money to get attorneys, and I was so upside down. But part of it was, I just felt like I always felt like I should pay my bills, and I just felt it was wrong to just try and go that path. Probably would have saved a lot of grief to just file bankruptcy. Okay. Um,
Mm.
but
Okay.
it made me get very creative. I did some barter things and I did some unique fundraising things. And like I said, it set me back. But I think the biggest thing for me was I ended up with a mentor. I
Mm.
went to an event. I realized that, all business is three parts. It's attract, convert, and deliver. Deliver is the work we do. Okay. But attract is the marketing and converts the selling. And I went to this event with a guy named Jay Abraham, who's a marketing genius. And I spent, I spent $5,000 for a 3-day event, and there were 500 people that
The
came.
J Abraham, right? The millionaire maker.
The Jay Abraham is my mentor.
Okay.
And after that event was life changing. And about a month later, his office called me and they said, Joe, do you want to come to the next event? I said, I'd love to. However, I'm still trying to pay for the first event. And they go, we know. Can you barter? And I'm like, barter? What could I do? And they said, we need transcription. Now, Jay has been doing these marketing and business and sales think tanks for decades.
Mm.
It's like Montessori for business adults, like really high end. He's just a freaking genius. And they sent me boxes and boxes of audio recordings sorted by 30 different marketing topics. And I listened to them, and with a yellow pad, I transcribe word for word with my finger on the rewind button. And I did a lot of transcription, and then I listened again and typed it up into the computer. And all of my transcriptions ended up going in the J. Abraham Marketing Encyclopedia.
Wow.
And I literally gained like this encyclopedic knowledge of marketing. It was like Mr. Miyagi and the Karate Kid, wax on, wax off, you're learning karate. Was with all this transcription, I was learning marketing from a brilliant genius. And I
Oh,
could
I
start
mean,
channeling.
you couldn't be any
Now,
closer to being inside Jay Abraham's head, really, right? Like, and not only are
right.
you listening and writing at the same time, which is a huge neuro hack in itself, you're internalizing his own master plans. Like, that's incredible. Yeah.
Now, what happened as a result of that is I got to be around Jay for like 10 years, and he would have events, and I would get to go to Jay's events as staff and as a participant. Are you still there?
Sorry, I've got a bit of a cold coming on, and I just didn't want to
Yeah,
vulgarize the video by blowing my nose.
that's okay. So I went to like 10 of his events, and there are 12 of his events, and some of the events were very powerful. They were life changing. And I also got to write, I got to write copy for Jay. I learned copywriting from Jay Abraham, and I got to sell some of his high ticket programs and be on his staff. So, and by the way, when you charge $5,000 per person and there's 500 people in the room, I'll tell you what, the quality of people in the room, it's top shelf. And so, uh, I got to be around a genius, but I also, the kind of person that Jay attracts, I got some world class. It really upgraded my social circle by doing that.
Yeah, I saw him
So,
briefly.
I'm learning all this market. Go
Yes.
ahead.
Oh no, nothing. It's not about me. It's okay. We'll talk after. I'll tell you my Jay Abraham story after.
Yeah, so I was learning all this stuff in marketing, and I had this, one of these, days that turns your life around. I was at a trade show, and I had a list with me. It was the top 10 marketing mistakes every business makes, almost every business makes. And when you stop making those mistakes and you fix them, they become 10 top marketing multipliers. And I was at a trade show, huge trade show, and I was going booth to booth with this list. And Andrew, like 99% of these businesses were making at least one or two or three of these marketing mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like an epiphany, like a light switch in my brain. It was like, wow, everybody's making mistakes. Wow, everybody needs my help. And what happened is that was the day I decided I am no longer electrical engineer. I'm no longer a technology guy. I'm going to be a full-time marketing consultant. And that was a day that turned my life around. So I've been doing this marketing consultant, and when you realize everybody's mistakes, and if you could just get them to stop making the mistakes, you could really turn people around pretty quick. That was the basis for me to say I have enough confidence that I know I can help people do
Mm.
this.
I'm curious. It sounds simple, and I mean, when I hear you say it, I'm applying it to what I do in personal development, in self-esteem coaching. It's pretty simple to do to get the turnaround if you can get them to accept the premise from the beginning. So, just to go up to someone and say, "Hey, this is really simple to fix," they're probably going to go, "Screw you." That's insulting
Who
to
are
say
you?
that, right? Like,
What's your
oh, if it was
background? Oh,
so easy, why haven't I done it yet?
I just lost a bunch of money. That was my, well, what have you done? How many millions have you made? And it was like, no, I just lost a bunch.
Yeah,
And I had
yeah,
a real credibility problem at the beginning. I'll tell you what, this is one of the light bulb moments. Another light bulb moment is to realize I can't help you solve your problems until you admit you have problems.
yeah. And you caused them. Maybe.
Well, whoever caused them, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. How did you at those in those early days? How did you convince people that how did you convince them that their problems were real and that you would be able to help them fix it?
Well, first of all, a lot of people had nothing to do with me, and I also a lot of the things I tried back then didn't work at first. Um, I did some things for people for free, with the hope that they would come back with some gratitude money. I got a lady. I worked with a hair salon, and I charged her $500 to install a referral system into her salon business. She was reluctant, but she paid me $500. And you know what? We turned all of her customers into their sales force. We trained all the salon workers to we created a referral system and contests and competitions, and they started getting 3, 4, 500 new clients per year with no marketing costs whatsoever. And
Nice.
so even though I didn't make a lot of money with that, I just wanted to I wanted to get my hands dirty and prove that I could do these things, and I did.
Yeah.
And they did, and they were so grateful, and uh, I completely undercharged at the beginning because I didn't have the confidence back then. But now it's like, there's a cost to doing business with Joe, and there's a cost to not doing business with Joe, and the cost of not doing business with Joe is far more expensive than my fees.
I could see that. Yeah, yeah. And when we started going backwards and forwards with each other, I wasn't sure how to take the conversation because I was just trying to spotlight you and get some, um, insightful, inspiring words from you for my community. And yes, rightly so. You have the experience where you don't want to have your time wasted. And I hope this won't prove to be one of those times. But I'm very grateful that you've given us this slot at the end. You said that was the last of your day to talk to the men in this community because my goal here, just to let you know a little bit more, is to all the men who are here. That some of them are at the bottom, as low as they can be, and hearing an inspirational story, hearing a system or a skill or a hack that can help them get one leg up the ladder is everything to them. So, what would be
Let me
your
speak into
advice to
that.
those? Pardon me.
What would be my advice to them?
I'm sorry. Was there something? What did you say before that? How did I?
Ask your question.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. What would be your advice to the people who are watching in this community who are, they feel stuck at the bottom of, the lowest of the low, maybe looking at bankruptcy, don't feel like they can perform like they used to in work, but they want to level up. They want to get out of that.
Yeah, I think the first thing is to recognize that you do have value. You are a child of God. You are if it's a man or woman, you're a beautiful son or beautiful daughter of a heavenly father who loves you very much. You have value. You have the ability to make somebody's life better. If you're not feeling good about yourself, go spend a half day, volunteering for a charity or a soup kitchen or something. Like, no matter how crappy your situation is, I promise you there are others that have it worse. So be of service. The second piece is realize that, you know, people don't even understand. They never really thought about where does money come from. Okay. And money comes to those who create value for others. Want to know the easiest way to make $10,000? Solve somebody's $100,000 problem. If you have a $100,000 problem and I can make it go away for $10,000 in business, we call that a good deal.
Mhm.
Now, think about this, Andrew. You spend money, we all spend money on certain things. So, why do you spend money on rent or housing? There's a word, and the word is it makes life better. It's better to have housing than to be homeless.
Yeah,
Why do we
I
go
have
to
the
a nice
problem of not
restaurant once
liking
in a while?
sleeping outside.
Yeah. Why do we go to a nice restaurant? Because sometimes life is better to have a nice meal where we don't have to cook it and prepare it and clean up the kitchen. Why do you get your brakes fixed on your car? Well, guess what? Life is better when our brakes work than when our brakes don't work, right?
Yeah.
Why do you spend money on the Jack Daniels? Now, we could have a little argument here. You might say it might make your life better. You might perceive it makes your life better. I'll probably say it probably won't make your life better, but I'm trying to make a point. We spend money on things that make our life better. Now, let's turn
Mhm.
it around. Do you want people to spend money with you? Start asking, how can I make other people's lives better?
Mhm.
When people see, oh, wow, Andrew's doing something amazing. If I hire him, he'll make my life a whole lot better. I want what he's got. You know, hey, I want the new iPhone. My life will be better when I get the new iPhone. People will spend money on that.
Mhm.
And it's really that simple, but we overcomplicate it. So the first thing is, can you make somebody's life better? Of course you can. Go mow a lawn. That make for somebody. Go clean somebody's house. Go cook somebody a meal. Now, there's two ways to contribute to other people. There's hands, labor,
Mhm.
and then there's brains. Okay, labor's pretty common. So we tend to pay less for labors. We tend to pay more for brains. And so what I would tell to that person, that man that's been beat up by life, and we all have. First of all, every master was once a disaster. And you need to turn your mess into your message. And you need to, like, no matter what you've gone through, you need to, like, dust yourself off, you know, put the band-aids on your wounds. You need to heal a little bit, but then start asking the question, what can I do to make people's lives better? And that's what's called value.
Mhm.
And it's very simple, actually. It's called giving and receiving. If you want to receive more, you got to learn to give more. It's real interesting, Andrew, because there's a lot of scarcity thinking in the world, and yet money is abundant.
Mhm.
Hundreds of trillions of dollars are circulating on this planet right now. Hundreds of trillions of dollars are in circulation, whether it's dollars or, pounds or euros or whatever. Money is circulating. So the question isn't, why isn't there any money? Because that's just a lie. The money's out there. The question is, why aren't they giving more money to me, Joe, or you, Andrew?
Mhm. Right.
And so if you want to receive more money, it starts with, how can I give in a way that people want to give back? How can I make your life better so that you say, wow, I want that. I'll pay for that. And there's three keys to this, four keys. Number one, no, figure out what are you good at to give others. What are your skills? What are your talents? What are your abilities? What's your magic? Number one, messaging. The confused mind buys nothing. But if we clean up our message, if the promise is clear, people will pay the price. So the first thing we need to do is like, what do you have to give to the world? And how can we communicate it so people can understand and appreciate and desire our value? If we communicate clearly, if the promise is clear, people will pay the price. And if the pain is large enough, people will pay the price. The second piece is, not everybody wants to receive your help. If I could help you, if I could show you how to start or grow a business, if I could show you how to get more customers to pay you more money more often, would you be interested in finding out more? Right. Okay. Now, is that a sale? No. You raised your hand. That's called a lead. We need to market in such a way to get people to say, yeah, I'm interested in that. So we need to market for the purpose of lead generation. And the third part is for those people that raise their hand, we want to nurture those leads. The third part is we need to monetize. We need to be able to have a conversation. I'm here to find out Andrew's wants and needs. Can I help Andrew with his wants or needs? Andrew, I think I can help you with your wants or needs. Would you like my help? Yes. Other than the money, would you like my help? Yes. Okay, so the only other thing we need to do is figure out the money part. And if we make the money part work, then the next thing you know, you're hiring me and I'm serving you. And money is now happening. You're transacting. So that was kind of a long story, but the money's out there. Our job is to open the portal of receiving. And we receive more when we give more. But you can't just give foolishly. You got to give with wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of, there isn't enough value, I think, placed on that mindset, whether, the scarcity mindset, the abundant mindset, and even the belief systems people have about being deserving of money, right? Like these do have a much larger impact than people realize. And yeah, those things.
Well,
And
it has nothing to do with your self-esteem. People don't give me money because I have high self-esteem. And people don't give me money because of how much money is in my bank account. People give me money because I do things that make their life better.
I mean, their self-esteem, if they don't feel like they're worthy of money, the way that
Well,
they'll,
you can
even if they
certainly
get it, they
tell
might
it.
give it away. Pardon me?
Well, I'm a generous giver, an excellent receiver. We need to talk. You know what? This is the thing: is our self-talk around money sucks. As a side note, how many people, ask the men out there, how many of you, when you had dinner with your family and you had money conversations, how many of those conversations were empowering and uplifting? Most of the time, money conversations were
Never.
arguments.
Yeah, right.
And so we need to, most of us were never taught how to have self-talk around money. Money comes to me naturally and easily for all the right reasons. Thank God I'm rich. I have a roof over my head. Millions of people were homeless last night. Thank God I'm rich. I have a roof over my head. I'm grateful for what I got, and I appreciate more is on the way. We need to learn a different language. I receive a lot of money because I give a lot of value. And you know what? When good people make good money, they can do more good things. So a lot of these things we were never taught, but I've been, I spent, a good 30, 40 something years learning this stuff. I wasn't born with it, but you learn to talk different. You need to have different mindset. There's kind of like 9 drivers of what moves the needle in a business. One of them is mindset or your ideology. One of them is, do you have the right product or service? One of them is, distribution channels. One of them is, are you systematic or are you chaotic? Another one is, how do you manage capital? Another one is how well do you market yourself? Another one is having the right relationships. One of the things that can take anybody that's really down in the dumps around money, first thing you do is you fire your flaky friends. Get away from the toxic people, the people that are flaky, the people that don't do what they say they're going to do when they say they're going to do it, and upgrade. Because if you want to get to the top, you got to let go of the bottom.
Yeah.
And those people that are naysayers and negative and telling you you can never make it, let's sit around and drink, let's sit around and smoke weed, let's sit around and go to the strip club. Those people are never going to get you to a level of prosperity. Here's a great shortcut for people that are not making money. There's two kinds of people in the world. There are givers and there are takers. The greatest shortcut, took me a long time to learn this, it's so simple though, is give to the givers, because givers are wired to give back.
Mm.
The takers, we don't have time for that. So we give to the givers, and we don't give we're supposed to love everybody. That's the Christian
Yeah,
thing,
sure.
love God, love your neighbor, but just, I love you, but that doesn't mean I like you. And, Jim Rohn said, three good questions. Number one is, who are you hanging out with? Number two is, how are they affecting you? And number three is that okay?
Mhm. Yeah.
It's okay to be a little bit friendly to everybody, but at some
Hmm.
point, if you want to grow, be around others that are growing.
Yeah, I love some Jim Rohn. Absolutely. He had so much wisdom, so
I
much good
met him four
advice.
times.
Yeah, that's 4 times more than me for sure.
I went to two of
I
his leadership weekends, and I met him he gave a talk at a church in Laguna Beach. And I
Wow,
also met him at a Dan Kennedy event. He was a
awesome.
keynote speaker.
Wow. I feel like yes, I mean in the last year and a half, I feel like I've been on an adventure and I've met some really amazing people like yourself who are just degrees of separation away from the masters out there. Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, those kind of the
Want to know
mentors.
one of my clients, one of my past clients is a guy named Les Brown.
He's
And
my, he works with my mentor Joseph McClendon at his institute. He became faculty last year. Yeah, he's amazing, absolutely
yeah,
amazing guy.
I coached Les Brown and his family, and I lived with him for 4 months.
Wow. It must have got a bit much after the second month where he's constantly telling you amazing stories at breakfast.
He's a funny guy, and he's very bright. He's getting old though. He was having he had a bout with cancer, and he slept a
Mhm.
lot, but he had a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
He's still around, but it's a blessing though to get to hang out with people like that.
Did you ever think back in your earlier days that I mean, did you know of those people even in your younger life in your 20s or I don't know, it didn't hear exactly when you got started, but whenever it was, did you think you'd be hanging out
A
with
little bit,
these gurus, these
a little bit.
masters of commerce and
I didn't think I would. It seemed like they were so far distant from me, but the truth is, we all put on one leg of our pants at a time. So you know,
absolutely do. All right. Well, it has been absolutely delightful to talk with you, Joe. I had no idea what to expect going in, and definitely didn't know I was going to hear that you worked with Les and have seen yeah. Anyway, I have a final
10
question
years
for
with
you.
Jay Abraham.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing, amazing. And I can see the way you talk. A lot of people that I know, unfortunately, do not see the value in investing in yourself and spending time with those people who've been who've been where you want to go to. But I can see it even in you, in the way you talk, in your body language. It rubs off, right? You become more like them and you learn from them in a way that people don't understand if they don't put themselves in that environment. So
Everybody says read, think, and grow rich. And it's a brilliant book. Anything by Napoleon Hill is brilliant. The hardest, why is it so many people read Think and Grow Rich and yet they're not rich yet? Okay. Good question, isn't it? And, the one principle, the keystone, Napoleon Hill said the keystone to the whole Think and Grow Rich philosophy is accurate thinking.
mhm.
Accurate thinking. It shouldn't be called Think and Grow Rich. It should be called Think Accurately and Grow Rich.
Mhm.
Now, here's the thing is accurate thinking takes the most work. It means we have to challenge our inner accuracy of our thinking. One of the things he said in The Law of Success is that inaccurate thoughts are like a little 2-pound tack hammer. Accurate thoughts are like a 2-ton wrecking ball.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to get a little sloppy with our thinking. We start learning things that are almost right. And we say, well, it's right, but it's not really right. Almost right ain't right. We need to fine tune our thinking, giving and receiving. Okay. No, give with wisdom. Okay. You can't just give to, if you give to the wrong people, you'll end up broke. You'll end up depleted. So you gotta
Yeah.
you gotta give with wisdom. You gotta give in the right ways to the right people in the right way. And so that's my challenge. Okay, for the men of the Extraordinary Men's Network, my challenge to you is to get more accurate with your thinking. Is sales a numbers game? No. Sales is not a number. If you treat people like a number, you deserve all the sales you don't get. When you treat people like a number, you're objectifying them. Sacred cows make the best hamburger. Challenge these things that people say and we believe it to be true. Okay, there's a bunch of them. If you get a college education, you'll make a lot of money. Not necessarily. You gotta use. Here's another thing Napoleon Hill said. It's not more classes or books or seminars. It's a better use of what you've already got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
God gave you everything.
Yeah. Said another way, it's not knowledge that is ultimate power, is execution of knowledge that is power.
Right.
Yeah.
And wise execution of knowledge. So be a little bit of a contrarian, question authority, question these maxims. You can throw any of these maxims down on me. We can put it on the altar of truth and question, is it true or not? And a lot of times the stuff that always be closing, ABC, the movie Glengarry Glen Ross. No, always be opening, always be connecting, always be
Mm.
starting relationships.
Yeah. 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 Very
There's
true.
so many of these. But you know what? I love helping people succeed in business. I love seeing people succeed. You know what? I hate seeing people fail. And I hate seeing people waste their life on a job that's stealing their soul. And that's why I created the work I do. And I just want to invite any of your people that if they're serious about creating a business that truly works and they want a mentor, they want to, I'm available to help people grow a business. One of the things I do all the time is I challenge people, in their thinking. I challenge, I hear people give their little elevator pitch and it's like, nobody understands what you just said. Let's try and communicate it in a way so people go, wow, that's amazing. I want that. I need that. I'll pay money for that.
Awesome.
So if your people want help, I'm available.
Well, Great. Thank you, Joe. We'll put our heads together and figure out a way of educating and providing for everybody. I have one last question for you. As a man, and this being the Extraordinary Men's Network, what do you feel is a topic that we are not talking enough about at the moment?
There's so many. First of all, I think that, masculinity isn't toxic. Masculinity is strength. Masculinity is good. Masculine men, what have men done in the world? Men have built civilizations. Men, we need to own the fact that, one of my mantras is I'm a good man trying to lead a straight life in a crooked world. The world is crooked and they want to put me in a box of being toxic, but I ain't toxic, okay? It's really funny. There are women talking real trash around men. And what's really interesting is men in America created a container, a society that give women the freedom to talk trash about men. And if they would pull that stuff in the Middle East, they'd end up dead in the streets, okay? We have free speech here where women can talk trash about men, but men created that. Mm. Men have done so many things, and it's time that we start owning the fact that, I am a good man and I am trying to walk the straight life, and the world is crooked and the world's constantly trying to derail me. And I think we need to talk a little bit more about having faith, having God in our lives. Everybody worships God in a little different way, but at some level, like, there is a creator, and I think we need to talk a little bit more about we can have the Spirit of God in each of us. There's nothing toxic about masculinity. I think the question is how can we, I got a good guest for you.
Okay.
His name is Sumed Chatterjee.
Okay.
And he's in Calcutta, India. He's a past client of mine. And when he came to me, he's got a master's in coaching psychology from London. Okay. But he wasn't making money. And he really is all about getting into the flow state, but he's taken it to a whole new level. He's got this business with his partner, Ryan G. And they've created something called Primal Sutra. And Primal Sutra is helping men find the balance between the priest and the beast.
Mm-hmm.
If you're too much priest and you don't have enough beast, women don't see you as a masculine. They see you as a girly man. Okay. If you're too much of a beast, you might be getting lots of sex, but you're not balanced by the spiritual part. And so these guys are on a mission to help men have a good nature, but not be ashamed of the animal side, the priest and the beast. Men need to find the balance between the priest and the beast. Sumed would be a great guest for you to talk about this essential part of masculinity.
Yeah, I'll try to reach out to him through you. Are you guys friends on Facebook? If I message him?
Yeah.
Cool.
He's on Instagram. He's
I do need so many people on Instagram. It's just the idea that you can't build a group in Instagram is what slowed me down. I started off there and shifted back over to Facebook. I'll start
a three-way chat and make sure you get the intro.
Beautiful stuff. All right. Any last words you'd like to leave with the members of Extraordinary Men's Network, Joe?
Well, there are people that are not as intelligent as you that are making a good living. There are people with less brains, less heart, less education than you, and they can make a lot of money. If others can do it, you can too. That's my word for the men. If others can prosper in this lifetime, you can too.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, let let me tell you a story from Jim Rohn. Once upon a time, once upon a time, a man was walking in the mountains and he ran into a pile of rocks. He said, "You know what? I'm going to do something with these rocks." And he started moving them around and arranging them, and he built a beautiful rock garden. Matter of fact, on the other side of the hill, he took those rocks and he built a nice home for himself. And so one day, a man came by and saw this beautiful rock garden. He goes, "That's a beautiful rock garden." He said, "Did you do it yourself?" He says, "Yeah, I did it myself." "No, no. Did you do it yourself?" Like the implication of God, right? He says, "No, no, you're right. I couldn't have done this without God, without the flower and the sunshine and the seeds and the bees, without the miracle of life, I could not have made this beautiful garden on my own. However, you should have seen this garden when God had it just by himself." God gives us all the raw materials to do something great in our lives. But it's our job to take what God gave us and be a co-creator, to take the raw materials of life and build something magnificent with you. If you're a member of the Extraordinary Men's Network, take what God has given you and be a co-creator with what God has given you and do something magnificent with you. And I promise, if you work really, really, really hard for a long, 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 long time, tomorrow can be and will be better than today.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you, Joe. It's been a beautiful conversation with you. If you wouldn't mind sticking around for a minute after I end the recording, to talk to you a little bit more. Everybody else, thanks for watching. Reach out to Joe. If Joe has any links that he can share, he will give them to me and I will post them with the introduction to this video and in the comments as well. Reach out, connect, and as always, stay extraordinary. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.